product of the Nerd Element.
Hi everyone, welcome back to 324B21, the Orphan Black Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Kimberly, and with me as always is Shawn, Fangirl-ass.
Hello everyone! Kim is back from D23, so you get to hear her voice and her dulcet tones before she heads to San Diego.
I know, that's why I sound like this, because I'm dead tired and I'm old and I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Oh God, you're old. Shut up.
I am.
I'm jealous.
Well,
Get to have all the awesome stuff, and especially because another show that we watch is already posting pictures that they're there driving around. It's making me crazy.
sorry. I'm sure I'll be sick by the end of it.
Drink some orange juice now.
I have gone through like 2 things of airborne. Just like, I'm not sick. I don't feel sick or anything. It's just like I'm terrified. So I'm trying to overdose on vitamin C.
I should just send you some. Here, have this now.
No. Well, today we're going to go over the newest episode of Orphan Black, and it is entitled Manacled Slim Wrists.
It's called Oh My Gosh, Holy Crap.
I love Crystal.
That was the real one.
Can we just...
Okay, first of all, I was so surprised because I had said to you couldn't believe that they were going to bring Crystal back this late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually was a good episode, and it wasn't just kind of, okay, look, here's another character, just as a reminder.
Yeah.
So I was happy.
They did do a good job, but I'm like, Crystal like makes me laugh. Can we talk about like the fact that she has a YouTube channel? They didn't say YouTube because they can't, but it was definitely a YouTube channel, and that's how it starts off with like her. It's called KB Natural Beauty, and it's like a YouTube channel with Crystal and Bree, and they're like going through this opening and how they expose lies about big cosmetics, and it's so funny. Like to me.
I wanted to know how, if she had a YouTube channel, which is, I think I tweeted that out, how has no other clone seen her?
I don't know. Maybe they're not just the type to like watch YouTube. Like, there's so much on YouTube that I don't know. Like, if I went to VidCon, I'd probably know like 1% of everybody there, which makes me sad. And so I'm gonna fix that by like watching a lot of YouTube. But there's so many YouTube channels out there. I like Lily Singh. That's the only one that I know.
Okay, well, this is going to sound horrible because I'm like, what the hell's VidCon?
Oh, yeah. It's like YouTube's like, it's convention. It's just always in the middle of the week and I can't go. And I'd like to go to learn more about YouTube, like create, like YouTube creating content and stuff like that. But I'm told from people who have gone, I talked to like this security guard who did security for WonderCon, who said VidCon is like being at a Justin Bieber concert with just a bunch of screaming girls. And I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was like that.
That sounds fun.
But they have like panels on like for creators, like on like how to do this and how to market and how to like all that. That's what I want to go. It's just really, really expensive. We're talking about $500-600 to go as a as a content creator anyway. So, all right. I know I went off on a tangent. But bringing it back, they're doing this party look for Bree, and they have her hair in these like little like curls, like these twisty things, and they try to remove the curlers, but it takes out her entire hair. And then she starts screaming, and then Crystal starts screaming, and then they're all screaming.
And it's supposed to be straws because it's supposed to be all natural.
Oh yeah, the straws.
And it was super cute hair. It really was, but yeah, the screaming. I hope you didn't upload that, is all I'm thinking. Although you might have got a ton of views because of that.
Like, she screamed, and then, like, Crystal looked at it, and then Crystal screamed because Brie was screaming, and I was like, this is hilarious. But we see that she's showing this video to Scott and Art, and what she does is she wants their help to figure out who from Big Cosmetics poisoned her friend. Crystal has amazing ability and Sarah has a quote later that I've highlighted and I'll read, but she has amazing ability to find things that need to be found by mistake.
Yeah. And I do like Sarah's comment.
It's amazing to me. So that's where we start, and then it goes to the opening. And then we see Mrs. S, and she opens the door, and it's Mr. Ferdinand. And Sarah comes down the stairs and says, Kira's not well. So, of course, he's not going to take her word for it. He goes up to examine Kira himself, and she throws up on his shoes. So that's that.
That's fun.
I know. I'm like, ugh. I'm just glad I wasn't, because as soon as I got home from D23 and I was like half dead, like I was literally sitting here falling asleep. I was like, I have to watch Orphan Black before Game of Thrones. Like I have to make it through these two things. And so I'm glad I wasn't eating, because I would have just been like, oh, because I'm like, blah, I hate that. Like it makes me sick. So I'm
sometimes it could be a little too realistic. It's not necessary. Really, not necessary.
Okay, so Mud has a cowbell on, and it's like to alert everyone and everything, anyone and everyone basically, that she's coming. And I'm like, Mud, stop.
I'm done. Done with her.
And Mud basically blames herself for Salvador's and Giannis's death, so she is like, this is her self-punishment to put a bell around her. I don't. She brings Cosima food, and Cosima tries to appeal to Mud via Kira to, like, no avail. Like, Mud's not hearing it. She's just like, no, I'm not letting you out. We do find out that Mud is from Seattle. She does mention it then, and we find out a little bit more later, but she does mention she's from Seattle. Not how old she is, because I swear, she looks like she's 12 years old. But some of the stuff that she told us later, I'm like, you can't be 12.
Okay, nobody's able to answer this. What happened to the body that was in the cell that Cosima's in?
I'm sorry. I assume they took it out before they locked her in.
But how did they lock her in? I thought they shoved her in there and locked it.
No, he had a gun, remember? Like the last time we saw it, he had a gun. So he could have just kept it on her, removed the body, says don't move or I'll shoot you, and then lock the door.
Okay, he's going to be able to move that big body by himself. Come on.
Well, I don't know if he did it himself or he called somebody, but he did have a gun that he could have pointed at her to keep her in place.
I guess.
They just didn't show any of that.
Because I had a whole lot of people like, oh my God, what did happen to it? And then they're like, oh, is it in there?
Yeah, I assumed he moved it because I don't think he would want to look at it. Also, it would smell.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let's see. Okay, so Mrs. S and Sarah congratulate Kira for selling the sickness and via a little help. I can't remember what they said they gave her, but
Ipecac.
Oh God. She yacked because of it a couple times.
Yeah, it's not easy to get. I don't know. As they show in these shows, just so you know.
I didn't even know where. I've never heard of it, so I would probably never. I mean, you could just drink so like Sarah did in the first.
Episode
or two episodes.
Right, when she was Beth.
Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure that's not good for you either.
Which is why your body rejects it.
Right. I just don't want to take anything that'll make me throw up because it's wrong.
I'm not a fan of throwing up, so yeah,
I'm not either.
I'm right there with you.
I ate this whole chocolate egg from England once because it was as big as my face. Yeah, it didn't go over well, but it was worth it.
It was so good.
It was. I think that's what I'm like. Maybe I really am lactose intolerant because the only thing that's in England, British chocolate is cocoa and milk and sugar. And I think I can take milk to a certain extent, but I ate this thing that was as big as my face, and my body was like, no.
Yeah, and how much sugar was in it? Because you missed Health Nut.
I know.
I
was shaking.
Sugar.
I'm like, oh my God, I just gave myself diabetes. I was totally freaking out.
I have the sugars.
I thought that's why I was getting sick. I was like, I gave myself diabetes. I'm a hypochondriac, guys. It was hollow, though. That's the thing. It was hollow. It was not solid chocolate, just so you guys know. I don't know. That doesn't make it any better. Okay. Back to, I'm sorry. Why are you laughing? It wasn't funny.
It is now.
Whatever.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Back to Mud.
Yeah, so, actually, we're back to Mrs. S, and
right.
Sarah wants to know why they're doing all this. Are they just doing it because of what Delphine said? And Mrs. S tells Sarah about the Lin-28 gene and tells her that they need to keep Kira away from Dyad and that Delphine is going to meet Felix and Adele in Geneva. Mrs. S goes over some of the Neos or Dyad acquisitions and says that they've been very busy. And Sarah asks about how she got Cody again because she keeps plugging her for that. She's like, so Delphine give you this information? And Mrs. S like, I have more than one source. This is like the third time she's brought it up. So who do you think her source is? Because obviously they're wanting us to bite.
I know, because the only person we haven't heard from is, what's his name, Cal?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's actually him. Maybe he is more involved and in the background trying to help out since he's, disappeared into the ether.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't know who else it would be. Like, I'm trying to think about who else. I don't know. Well, anyway, so Mrs. S is basically going over that, and she's just saying that they're buying a lot of health and beauty industries, which she found curious. So Art calls Sarah and tells her, hey, I don't know what you're doing right now, but if you can get in front of a laptop, that would be great. So Sarah does. And she gets to listen to Crystal talk about her new boy, Toy Lin, and find out that he's a CEO of a company that was just bought by Dyad. Mrs. S heard the name and looked up the paperwork. And so Sarah tells Crystal that he sold the company to Dyad, and Crystal's like face drops. And she's not happy. She's like, Dyad? I'm like, uh-oh.
Actually, with Crystal going, does she have to be here? She's so rude all the time.
I know. They're BFFs, guys.
That was the best. I'm sorry.
It is funny.
It's like, you don't even think you should be here.
I just want her to see the other clone. She would, like, lose her mind.
You don't look like any of them. We'll do the rest of the podcast in Crystal.
In the next scene, Rachel is kumbayaing, and Mr. Ferdinand walks in and tells her that Kira has the flu and that he verified it when she threw up on him. And Rachel looks at him, then looks at his shoes, and looks back at him. And is all like, okay, well, she can rest for now. And goes back to kumbayaing.
Oh, God. Hashtag stupid Rachel.
Wow.
I was so just irritated. Like, well, okay, the face she made, of course, was when he walked in with, whatever on his shoes. Because you can smell it before you got there. But, she just, I want to pop out the eye. I just want to take the other one. She's making me crazy, and she's not even really doing anything yet.
She just wants to feel special.
Yeah, she's annoying.
Yeah, she is.
Sorry, go ahead.
I hope she gets hers. Anyway, Susan is trying to talk PT out of locking up Cosima. Bud comes up with that dialysis machine, and Susan is worried. She's like, why did you tell me you were doing this? She calls PT John. She says no one else, he asks her if she remembers him, and she says, yes, but no one else does. So they need the this myth of PT, proving that PT is long since gone, and this is John, who calls Susan out, and is like, you know what, you're lying to me, and, he calls her out, and then Cody comes walking in, and Susan is like, oh, dun dun dun, the winch got out.
Oh, God. When she walked in, I'm like, this is so not good.
That's what I heard.
I was just like, this is going bad real fast because she's crazy and obviously she's going to spill everything about, oh, hey, by the way, Sarah Manning knows this and blah, blah, blah. Ugh. She needs to go away, like, permanently. I'm like an angry little hobbit today about everybody.
No, I think she needs to die for the betterment of humanity. So does
She
John.
want to kill everybody off.
That's mean to say.
No, she wants to kill them. I didn't say I want to.
No, I mean, it was mean what I just said.
Oh. I can't stand them. And it's like the more we're getting into it, and this makes me mad that we have such a short season. The more we're getting in, like, the more I want to know, and then the more I want to hate them. So it's like, does this make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. But I take it back, so I shouldn't put one person's life over another, but I still think that she's wicked. Pure evil. So, yep, she walks in, Susan is shocked, and then Cody and Susan argue, and Susan, she goes, "You locked me up," like, drooling on myself, and Susan says, "Guilty." She totally admits to it. She's like, "Sure did. Yup. And I do it again."
Yeah, it's like, and what's your point?
That made me like Susan. She calls her a maniac, by the way. She calls Cody a maniac. PT says they need to work together. Let's get together. Yeah. So PT's like, we all need to come together and displace and work. So,
Yeah,
bury the hatchet.
They're looking at each other like, I don't think so.
I will claw out your eye, woman. Yeah, I don't know.
You wait till he's not looking.
Throw things at the table. He can't see anyway. Mrs. S and Sarah are talking, and Sarah says, "Did Crystal just fall ass backwards into something again?"
Yeah, she manages to have really weird luck, and that comment was just the best I'd ever heard.
It's amazing, really.
I don't know why it was the best, but it was.
Sarah wants to go into the field, basically, as Crystal to get her friend Lynn to talk. Okay, so this is, like, interesting. Oh, go ahead. Did you have something to say about that?
I was going to say, yeah, that was what we were going with. Just go ahead.
Yep. Okay. So, this is interesting. Kira makes it a point to tell us that she's naming the island that they're on Wonderland. And I'm like, why would she do that? What's the point of this line right here? She's like, Mom.
I wanted to know what the point of the story, this one will be the elephant. And this, it's like.
Yes, these are all I feel like these are all hints. Like, these are all things that we need to, pay attention to. It's all the same thing. She's writing a book. She's also willing to hustle Rachel, she said, which I thought was cute.
The kid's becoming a grifter. It's so weird.
Yeah. So, Crystal wants to talk to Lynn herself. She thinks Sarah, the Aussie, and Art will mess things up. And I'm like, I am going to so message somebody when I'm like, you sound like an Aussie. And she's like, no, I'm British. And I'm like, same difference. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Don't get mad. I'm just playing. I'm totally just playing. I just thought it was funny that Crystal said that. Because Crystal's so... and I like her facial expressions. It makes me laugh. This is Tatiana I'm talking about. I'm talking about Crystal like she's a different person and she's not.
Well, she kind of is, though.
Yeah. It's the same.
Everything
actress.
we've learned, they're all different. And it's so weird.
It's hilarious. She doesn't get paid enough. I don't even know what she gets paid, but it's not enough. So Art wants her to stay with Bree and to call Lynn and tell him to meet him at her place. He wants her to stay there, be supportive of Bree while Scott puts her through some tests. Now Cody goes and talks to Cosima. This is what bothers me about Cody, and this is why I said what I did about her, even though it was rude. But I feel like she is just like a detriment to humanity and needs to be stopped. The way that she was looking at Cosima, she's looking at her not as she's like, you're an amazing little experiment. She wasn't looking at her as a person. It makes my skin crawl. But anyway, she's talking to Cosima, and Cosima's not impressed, and Cody would like Cosima to come help her, like switch her thinking a little bit so she can come help her and be a part of this. And Kissing was like, "You're a bit too insane for me." And Cody just looks at her and is like, "Huh," and then walks off. I'm like, "Oh God, freak." Anyway, Susan tells Ira about Cody, and like Ira's like, "What? She's here? Did she ask about me?" He's like, he's got all these questions, and Susan's like, "You need to stay away from her." And he goes, "Well, I'd like to learn about myself." And she slaps him, and when she slaps him, he like kind of glitches.
I know. I was like, did that just happen? Or am I, not really seeing what I think I see?
Yeah, he's glitching. She asks, or she tells him basically that Cody's evil and then he needs to stay away. And Susan alludes to becoming a killer herself. Because he says, "You're not a killer, Susan." And she's like, "I am everything but," and maybe that's time. It's time that changes. But Ira wants to get close to Cody and try to figure out what is happening instead. And I think it's just he just wants to learn a little bit more about him.
Yeah, well, he says that. I want to know about me and how I'm made and, what makes me up and everything. And it's like, okay, first of all, we know that you and Susan have that weird relationship. But somehow I don't think you're going to have a good relationship with Cody.
Well, I think he also, more importantly, he wants to know how he can be fixed. Because it's becoming urgent for him. All right, so back to Scott, who has to take some blood from Bree. So Crystal gives her the sign for distract, which Bree does. Poor Scott. And Crystal leaves.
Come on, it was amusing though.
Yeah, it was. It's kind of like
whoa.
I know, he's like, girl. That's so cute. But yeah, it works. She's like trying to get him to help her take off her sweater, and like he's paying attention to that, so Crystal leaves. And Scott just hears the door slam. Ira walks around outside and sees Cody over by the like med bay, like the clinic shop. I said med bay, this is Star Trek. And Salvador's funeral is going on. So he's looking like past that over to where Cody is. So then he goes into the clinic to kind of spy and sees Cody taking blood from kids.
Why, creepy? Why are you taking blood from kids?
We do find out that Susan separated Ira at 4 years old, and he was screaming. He didn't want to be ripped from his brothers, but she took him anyway. Cody kind of like tries to test him, wants to know if he's having any side effects, and he lies and says no. And then she tells Ira that she's close to a cure.
Why lie?
I don't know. But we don't even know if she's really lying. Like, we just like, because we haven't seen anything yet, she could be telling the truth. I mean, right now we've seen Cody from like Sarah's point of view and like Susan's point of view. But I don't know that we've necessarily seen things from Cody's point of view, which isn't insane anyway, but so we don't really know if she's lying or not. I'm sure Susan will say she is.
No, I don't think she's going to be the most forthcoming person about anything.
No, I don't either. Well, Crystal got to her home and basically took over the whole Art and Sarah operation. Says she has a surveillance kit and an earpiece, and that she was sending the password to patch them in. And they're like, "What? You do?" It was really crazy. And then she goes, "I'm point, you're backup, deal with it." Which might be the name of this podcast. I have to start that right here. I thought that was funny and it was cute. So then Lynn comes over and he apologizes for not, for ghosting Crystal, basically. She kisses him and they go at it a little bit, but Sarah gets her to, she gets her like back to,
To pay attention?
Yeah, she gets her to pay attention and like question him, but what she really wants to know is like, why you been ghosting me, instead of the real questions that they need to ask. And And
Yeah, because Crystal apparently doesn't know that undercover does not mean under the covers. So
right.
she was taking it a whole different way.
And despite Sarah's direction, she blurts out to Lynn that his company was sold to Dyad, which he just kind of like looks at her and is like, "How do you know that?" She
Uh,
goes,
I was more nervous when the phone rang.
"I don't know why I wasn't."
Really?
Mm-mm. Because I feel like they have no interest in Crystal, so
Yeah, but somehow I thought that he was gonna suddenly be like a monitor and like bad things were gonna happen.
I don't know why. I never thought about that. But like, well, when he turned around and said, "How do you know that?" And she goes, "I'm in the industry. People talk." And he goes, "I signed a confidentiality agreement." But the look on his face, and then I was like, what is he gonna do now? And then he gets that call and he's like, "Hey, Kev, what up?" or something like that. And I'm like, oh god, he's just one of those. Um,
Well, see, that's why I'm like, oh, he is getting some information and they're gonna tell him to do something horrible to her.
oh, see, I didn't. I just thought he was like, oh, he's one of those party boys. Um, I don't know. So, Scott in the next scene is tells Bree that she is not poisoned. She hasn't been poisoned. But he does say that she might have had allergic reaction. So asks if she's eaten anything different recently, and she shows them this stuff that she stole from Lynn at a party.
Yeah, especially when she's like, well, I kind of steal things. You better check the basement and her purse before she leaves, Scott. That's all
For
I'm gonna
real,
say.
she has a problem. Then back to Crystal yelling at Lynn and lecturing him about big like pharmaceutical, like not big pharmaceuticals, big cosmetic companies and how they're like taking over and how could he sell to like somebody crazy as Diane and they test on humans. Well, she said they test on animal like bunnies and people. Like people were second thought.
She's
Um,
like, I'm worried about the animals, whatever with the people.
And then he's like, he's just trying to smooth things over with her, tells her he loves her blog and stuff, and she excuses herself, goes into her bathroom and tells Art that Lynn's a liar, and she never liked his blog, and she's like mad. Meanwhile, Scott calls Sarah and tells her about the stuff Bree took and how it's experimental. Um, Back to the island, Ira is telling Susan what he saw Cody doing with the blood, and she says PT is mixing Yug blood for his.
That
Um,
just sounds creepy.
yeah, but like we talked about this, didn't we? Was it you that mentioned Silicon Valley, or was that
No, was not
Edith?
I. Maybe Edith.
But that's exactly what they were doing. That was what that one guy was doing in Silicon Valley too.
Yeah.
Um, and that's like dangerous because like you never know, like your blood, your body might reject something like that, and when it does, it's not pretty. So I just, I don't even, and I think it's like theory too. I don't know that that will actually work. Um, but anyway, Ira just wants to leave. He's like, let's just go, and Susan's like, no, they have to be stopped. And poor Ira's over there glitching, and Susan says Cody is lying about the cure that Ira mentions he has, and that Cosima is his best bet for a cure.
Well, I understand him being like a little upset because he never really knew a whole lot about Cody and just everything that's happening. And Susan seemed so caught up to try to get the cure for Lita, like she almost forgot about him. I still kind of feel like it's an afterthought.
I just don't understand why at this point in time he has not said something. Like he has no
I'm
idea.
glitching.
Yeah, he has no idea if there's anything they could do to like slow it down. Like he hasn't mentioned anything. He's just keeping it to himself. Um, so I'm like, that's kind of like, why hasn't he said anything?
I don't know. That does seem kind of odd.
Susan does mention that Cosima is close with Mud and they're going to need Mud's help as well. Also, she hands Ira an envelope and says to take this. Now, back to Art, who's talking to Crystal, who was on the toilet, mind you. She says she's gonna go pee and then go kick his butt. Sarah gets on the phone and tells Crystal about the face cream that Bree stole. And Crystal's like, oh, she's such a klepto. Says it's experimental. Sarah says it's experimental, but they need more of it. So she needs to get a sample that Bree has in her flower cosmetic bag, which there are tons of. But unfortunately,
I said, yeah, apparently. She has like a dozen or so makeup bags all over.
But unfortunately, Lee finds it first and then confronts Crystal by knocking on the door. And Sarah's like trying to tell Crystal what to do, but Crystal's like, forget this, takes the earpiece out, goes up there and then starts yelling at him. Lee calls her stupid, so she kicks his butt because she doesn't like to be called stupid. But nobody does really, but still, she's like, it's like her pet peeve. We find out
her off. And then she goes crazy. Sorry.
She does. She does go crazy. You're right. And we find out it's like a delivery system for like a hormone delivery system, which is basically what they're gonna need to make their better person, human being or whatever.
That just makes me so mad, though. It's like, no, because you're taking Kira's eggs.
Mm-hmm. She covers his beard in it, the cream, because she knows it's gonna make his hair fall out, and she kicks him.
I wanted a big just plot right in the back of the head, so it was would be a bald spot. I really wanted that instead of the beard, because he could just shave the beard.
He can, but maybe he doesn't like his face without it, and maybe it took him, maybe he's one of those guys where it doesn't grow fast, so it takes him forever to grow it. The way he was squealing, you would think that might be the case. But she kicks his butt and then kicks him out.
I was pretty impressed, though. She was a fighter, because I didn't know how she would be.
She took those classes, remember?
Yeah, but I mean, you can take classes, and then there's the reality of it happening. So I don't know. I was pretty impressed. That's all.
Yep, she beat him good. So Mud is walking the village, and we find out Aisha has died. And
didn't we see her a second before walking?
No, I don't think so. I think this is the first time I saw her all episode.
Okay, because I was like, didn't she just walk by a moment before? Unless they were carrying her, and I just assumed she was walking. I didn't, have it click in my head what was going on.
If they did, it was a mess up on editing.
Oh.
But she died, and the people are starting to doubt what's going on in PT and everything. You can hear some murmurs. Cosima is trying to get out of her cell when Mud comes in and tells her that Aisha died. Ira then comes barreling down to let Cosima out. He is having a rough go. He says that they need Mud too. And she's like, nope, I don't want any parts of this. And she tries to leave, and he brings her back and says, I need you to tell me when he's doing his treatments. And Mud is in denial. She's in denial. She thinks PT is the best thing since sliced bread because he saved her life when she was a junkie. Which I'm like, how old are you? She says she.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, she said she tried to overdose, but she couldn't even do that right. And then she woke up there, and I'm like, dude.
That's what I'm saying. Did he save her life, or did he basically take her away? Oh yeah, that's my child. Take her away and let her think that she owes him something, and in reality probably experimented on her the whole time.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I believe that she was a junkie and maybe she did overdose and he found her, but I don't know. I don't know if he's experimenting on her or what. I just don't think she just doesn't look old enough to be. I don't know what age you can be junkie, I guess, at any age, but she just looks like a child to me.
She does look like a kid.
It's all very disturbing. PT calls Rachel and wants to know why Kira isn't at Dyad, and Rachel's all like, I forget. Well, she's like, you do know everything, and she says she'll take care of it. I'm like, that's creepy. He's got cameras in there.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Ferdinand. No, Mr. Ferdinand was the one that made the decision to leave her there, so I don't think that's the one that's telling him this.
Well, that'd be kind of silly for him to be like, yeah, I left her because she threw up in my shoe. Oh, you're not happy? It was Rachel's fault. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of weird that he knows all that. I wonder if they're ever going to mention why.
Because cameras everywhere. And because he's creepy and he probably watches her all the time.
Maybe. All right. Well, back to the island, and Mud is setting up the kind of bloodletting, machine.
The bloodletting machine?
Whatever. Yeah.
That sounds even creepier. Oh my
Well, that's the process that they called it anyway, but like not the machine, but like that's what they called. Like Casima had mentioned it at one point, or no, Susan did, saying it doesn't hurt the children. Bloodletting doesn't hurt the children, so, which it wouldn't, but still, it's just kind of gross. But she's setting it up, and then she kind of like blocks PT's vision when Susan comes in and offers to help, so Susan can like poison the bag without PT seeing. But then like PT praises Mud for always like being there, and says that she needs to take that bell off and stop punishing herself. And it's like enough. He says enough to her that you see Mud crack, and they're like, "Oh, great."
Yeah, you kind of like right there. I'm like, oh, great. She's gonna go screw this whole thing up.
Yes, she is.
Stupid Mud.
So she like kind of looks at Susan and then like walks off, looking like she's about to cry. Ira lets Casima out, but he's in like bad shape. Like Ira is just like falling down all over the place, and then Casima's getting her stuff together, and he gives her the envelope, and he says, just in case. I'm like, well, that's it. You just signed your... Anytime you say just in case, that's it.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, crap. He isn't even making it to the end of the episode, is he? That's how I felt, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Rachel shows up to Mrs. S to collect Kira in the middle of the night, and Mrs. S is like, we didn't agree to overnights, but they're not listening. And then Mrs. S threatens Rachel, saying, one day you're going to need us. And Rachel just kind of looks at her, and then Kira says, it's okay, S, just tell Mom that I'm going to keep writing my story. And I'm like, why? What is this? What?
It's just so weird, and it's not going to give us any information as to why she has this power. It's just going to be weird and probably creep us out.
I don't know, but there's a reason why they're mentioning all this. At least I hope there is. If we get to the end and we're like, we never found that out, I'm going to be like, no.
Yeah, they got to give us something, because otherwise I think a lot of people would just be like, what the hell? You're just going to leave us hanging. Thanks.
We should tweet at them and ask them.
Ask them what? Are we ever going to find out about Kira?
Ask them if there's something to this story that she's writing. We should just tweet them. I'm going to tweet them. They're going to be like, watch. And I'm going to be like, oh.
You're like, gah.
I'm impatient. All right. So Casima is confronted as she comes out of the clinic by the villagers, and she's confronted as like one of PT's minions, and they're like, what are you doing? You could like do like experimenting on other people, and they try to take her stuff, and she's like, stop, like I'm not the person you should be mad at. You should be mad at PT. And she shows them the picture of PT, and it's a picture of him as a young man in like the 60s, and tells them that it's all a lie, that he's been lying to you, he's been experimenting on children, and they like believe her, and they let her go, and she grabs Charlotte, and she gets the heck out of Dodge.
Yeah, I was surprised that they didn't I thought they were gonna like break her meds basically, because she's like, no, that's my medicine, I need that. And it's like, if you are in that much of an uproar, I mean, are you really gonna believe this person? I was really confused and worried that Casima's like everything, her research was gonna go just like down the drain.
Yeah, I was too, and then I realized it was snow, and I was like, if they like drop it, it's just gonna drop in a snowbank. I
Okay,
think
up
that's
in
how snow.
flames.
That's how I feel like snow like works because I don't know because I don't ever see it. Like it's like it's soft, isn't it? Unless it's frozen over.
Soft, but it could help break your butt. You know, it's like, I guess it depends, dear. It
I've
totally
only read
depends.
about it in books.
You're killing me.
Just messing with you. I did grow up in New Jersey. Remember that. Okay, so they let her go. Yep, and Susan now is watching PT die. Basically, she's just standing there like, "Die, dang you, die!" And Susan's like quoting this verse that he was trying to remember, but she's quoting it, and it's a montage over the villagers burning, and it's actually like what she's saying and what we're saying go really, really well together
Oh yeah, they did.
about like what man does and creates and has become. So I thought it was really good. And then Cody comes storming into the room to expose Susan via mud.
So pissed.
And she says, she was trying to kill you. And then Susan's like, no, I wasn't. I was trying to save us all. And we're like, oh. And like the look PT gave her, and I'm like, geez. This is when my pen started to run out. I was so mad.
You were writing furiously.
I was. So Casima's packing up the speedboat in the boathouse, and then she goes to look out the window to look for Ira and Susan, and Charlotte says, I don't think they're coming. And then we see Ira, who goes into Susan's room to find her and says, we need to leave, but he finds her tied to a chair dead. Meanwhile, he's bleeding from his nose, so he just kind of lies there with her. And
So he is done, right?
I mean, assuming that's what he just like died, like he just was like, well, I'm just gonna die here with her. We don't know for sure because we never saw it, but he was like lying at her.
If it ever happens off screen, I can't trust it.
He was like lying at her side like a dog. Like I don't know. I feel sorry for him.
Pretty much just laying at her feet, like, okay, well, I guess we can both go then. Since you're gone, I can let go, is what I kind of felt with that. No? Am I the only one?
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I completely agree with you. It's just I was like thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, I feel really sorry for him.
I felt bad, and like I said, Ari Millen, he played a ton of characters, not quite to the same level as Tatiana, but like I think we overlooked him a lot, and I kind of feel bad. So that's why I was like tagging him a lot. I'm like, you guys, you are great playing all these different guys too. I know Tatiana is like front and center. You did great though, and I'm kind of sad. Just a little sad though, because still the whole relationship with Susan kind of creeps me out.
Yeah, it is kind of creepy. She raised him from he was 4. That's disgusting. Well, so that happened, and Cosima and Charlotte basically take off in this boat into the night while PT watches his village burn from his window. Meanwhile, Mud is outside, and she sees the picture of PT, so she knows now that she's been told the truth by Cosima.
She's been mad.
And that is it. Fade to black. It is over.
I have a feeling that maybe, and this is a big maybe, Ira may not be dead, only because like Mud's gonna suddenly realize, because she's seen all of this and like, light bulb, and she's gonna run and maybe somehow save him. I don't know if it'll be a permanent save, but maybe we will see him.
You never know.
I feel like Kim's thinking I have a tinfoil hat on through most of this episode. So if anybody is on my side.
I'm not
Send her an
saying.
email.
You just. I don't know. You're trying to win for that Team Kim thing, aren't you? I don't know what to think, to be honest. I just don't, like, at this point. I've got no theories about anything because I'm just like, what's happening?
It's been like insane. Everything that's going on, just kind of a crazy ride altogether. So it's just so weird to try to think, okay, are they putting this together? Is this maybe happening? You know, there's just so much that has been going on.
Yep. So we're at, like, what episode is this? What do we have, like 3 more? Do we even
Yeah,
have
I
3
think
more?
we only have like 3.
Oh my god.
How are they going to wrap this up? Seriously. Like, I can't see a good wrap up in just those few episodes.
I don't know. I'm worried.
As you should be.
I don't know. I hate to see it come to an end, but all good
It's
things
been
come to
so
an end,
good.
right?
Yeah, it's been so incredible, though. So I'm glad we at least had a chance where we know we're going to have. They've known about it. They were going to wrap this up. So I'm assuming we're going to get everything in a nice, neat little package.
I hope so.
You don't sound confident.
I have confidence in it. They've done a good job all these seasons. And like I said, he had a set plan for this many seasons. He had a set story. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get closure and everything. I'm just like a little depressed because it's coming closer and closer to the end.
There's all sorts of good things that we'll be able to watch. We'll have a new doctor soon.
Yeah, I know, but still. Well, okay, so one of the things, and this is what I need to remember to do this, that I need to tweet at them and be like, what's this Kira story? Like, what are we supposed to be taking from this? Like, for real. That's the one thing that stuck out of my mind here. Out of all the things that happened, like, Kira's, because it's spanned multiple episodes. That and the fact that Sarah keeps pushing about this other informant.
The source.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we at least find out the source, I feel. And I mean, don't they have to bring back Cal? Come on.
I need answers to everything, not just one. I demand them.
Everything. Everything's connected.
So,
oh, wait, that's the other BBC show. Sorry.
So I'm just hoping, I'm hoping we get that clarification on those 2 things. I don't know. My DVR kind of cut off the previews for next week, so I'm not exactly sure what's happening. But
I can't spoil it.
That's fine. And I won't be, but guys, it's going to be like a late one up because I'm not going to be back until like Sunday. Lord knows when Sunday. Like probably night, so I probably won't be able to watch it until late Sunday night. Thus I can't record until Monday at the earliest, so just letting you guys know.
I know you guys all feel bad that she's going to go to San Diego Comic-Con and see all these awesome folks and hopefully get some awesome information for these other shows. I know I totally feel bad for her.
All right, now you calm down. All right. I get your point. Well, guys, I just I want to say I'm gonna say this probably in the next 3 episodes, but I just want to thank you guys for listening to us because it's been a real pleasure talking about the show and having you guys listen. And Shawn, always a pleasure doing this with you. I'm gonna get mushy these next 3 podcasts. Sorry.
No crying.
I am.
There's no crying in podcasts.
All right, Shawn. Why don't you tell the people where to find you on the interwebs?
Well, see, I want to say thank you too because everybody has been super awesome, and for everybody who's come on here and everybody who's tweeted with us and everyone who's agreed with me. But anyway, you can find everything over at fangirlzone.com, our contact page. You know, I'm always tweeting now from at FGZ Podcast. And you'll find me there even when this is all said and done, because there'll be other awesome shows that we'll be talking about. So don't cry, Kim.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, I don't know. It's such a good show. All right. Well, you can find me at 324B21. Wait, no, TNE underscore. Hi, guys. Okay. TNE underscore 324B21 pod. Natasha would get so mad at me that I messed that up. That is where we live tweet this. Again, I will not be live tweeting next week either, but I will be back on board for the final 2 episodes. I am not leaving my house. When I tell you I will be in front of this TV, I'm not missing the last 2 episodes live tweeting. I will not be doing it. I don't care what comes out. I don't care. I will be live tweeting.
She's banging on her desk right there.
For real. Oh, can you hear that? My bad.
I will not be leaving. Calm down.
I know. So I will be back. Just not this week, guys, but I will be back the following week. And then you can find all of our Twitter handles at The Nerd Element and www.thenerdelement.com. So thank you guys for listening, and we will be back next week with an all-new episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Brought to you by The Nerd Element.